Mukul Mudgal is now joining us here on this broadcast here on NewsX. Justice Mukul, appreciate your being with us today. Your first reaction, sir, to the verdict that's come in from the CBI court in Panchkula, and the scenes that we've been seeing playing out since this morning across Panchkula, Chandigarh and the two states of Punjab and Haryana.
Yeah. No, so what's your question, please?
Yes, sir. Your reaction now that Ram Rahim has been convicted by the CBI court following the scenes also that we saw.
First of all, I'd like to congratulate the CBI judge who had the courage to stand up to all the crowds which were milling around. A pressure was being sought to build on the judiciary, and my hats off to the gentleman who's pronounced this verdict. Not because he's pronounced him guilty, but he had the courage to do what he thought was right. So my first reaction. Second is, I am very proud of the Punjab and Haryana High Court that they have taken steps to ensure that nobody can make a spectacle of justice. And I was just hearing you say that the electricity is going to be shut out and all. What about the citizens who need the electricity? Why should they be deprived? Just because you apprehended somebody may create trouble. The law and order has to be governed by the law and order forces. So I don't think that is a correct step of stopping. What about citizens who stay in their home, law-abiding, who want electricity in this weather because of the air conditioning, cooler, fan? I mean, everybody doesn't have a transformer, or anybody doesn't have a backup, and a diesel. So I don't think this is the correct way of doing it. You have to do your job. Make sure the law is enforced. And I mean, if somebody wants to tell his followers that he's been convicted, should not stop him also.
Absolutely, absolutely, sir.
I don't think it's the right thing to do.
Would you say that in the situation that we've seen and the kind of charges that the police have failed in their duty, the administration has failed in the duty, it's actually only the courts in India that have upheld the law, upheld the system, and have made sure that our system functions the way it should, to perfection?
Well, it is absolutely correct in the sense, look, a court is not meant to run the law and order situation, but court only steps in when one organ of the body, in this case the executive, has been derelict in performing its duty to the fullest, maybe because of the popular sentiment, maybe because of other collateral reasons. But the court is unmindful of that, and the court must enforce the law and the rule of law. More important is the rule of law, I mean, nobody should stop any supporter from expressing his support. That is their wish. But if a law and order situation arises, then it is absolutely clear that the law and order authorities must enforce their writ and enforce the rule of law. And again, I would like to salute the Punjab and Haryana High Court for standing up to protect the enforcement of rule of law. And I'm very proud of the court where I once served as.
Yes, in fact, sir, I was just going to come to that question. Do you feel proud as a former Chief Justice of the Punjab and Haryana High Court of the way it has monitored the situation, the instructions it has given out, and the way that it's actually made sure that things play out the way they have done in the past couple of hours?
Look, I want to tell you, people criticize public interest litigation. This is a prime example of the wonderful effect of a proper exercise of public interest litigation. The court took suo motu notice. Court has issued directions to maintain rule of law and the law and order in the state when it finds that the executive is a little reluctant, and the executive may have its own reasons. They could be political, they could be administrative, they could be any other reason. But the paramount is the Constitution of India and the rule of law. And I would again extol this use of public interest litigation. In fact, all high courts where these kind of litigation and damage to public property takes place must exercise this jurisdiction to bring the law and order forces to do their duty properly without fear or favor. That's what our Constitution says.
Absolutely, sir. You began by congratulating the judge today in passing the order. The kind of scenes that we've seen playing out over the last few days,
Of course.
and especially since this morning. Do you think that this kind of show of strength, in a way, it tries to intimidate our administration, certainly the people who are in authority, who are in power?
Look, whether it was designed to intimidate the administration or not, but certainly a weak person would have been intimidated by this kind of a thing, you know. I mean, 5 lakhs people have, some of the reports say. And this is where a judge stands up fearlessly for what he thinks is right. And again, I want to congratulate the CBI judge, whoever he may be, he or she may be, that he's done his duty without fear and done the right thing. Whether he's right or not will be tested in the higher court. But he has had the courage of his conviction to convict a person who has a massive following.
Yes.
And it's not easy to do that, let me tell you.
Yes, it's not easy to do that, and certainly you would know that. What would you say of the week itself, sir? It's a week in which we've seen the triple talaq verdict, the right to privacy verdict, and now the verdict in the Ram Rahim case. What would you say of the test that the legal system faced this week, and it's coming out with flying colors?
Look, I can say it proudly that I am very, very proud that I belong to the judiciary which has rendered these judgments. Each of them, the triple talaq judgment, such a progressive and welcoming judgment. Of course, it must be developed further, but most outstanding judgment has been the right to privacy. And I must say, Justice Chandrachud has written a locus classical on this and thrown lights on the gay rights, the courage to overrule the ADM Jabalpur principle, and this judgment is worth reading because the language,
yes,
the crystal clear language and the absolute eloquence of phrase without being flowery is typical of Justice Chandrachud. Not only him, but his father was also known for outstanding English language in simple terms, not very obfuscatory, using not bombastic words, but the words. And what he has said is a very, very important thing in the right to privacy, that the norms of what is reasonable change over a period of time. What may have been unreasonable earlier may become reasonable later. What may have been reasonable earlier may become unreasonable later. That is a huge advancement in the field of constitutional
Yes, and of course in this
again,
context,
I am proud to have belonged to the judiciary of India, which stands tall.
Right. In fact, sir, in this context,
Yes.
Of course, the tidbit that
Yes.
came out that Justice Chandrachud
You were saying
overruled
something?
his father's judgment.
Yeah, no, that's what I said. The judge does his work without fear or favor. That's what the oath is. In the Constitution oath to a judge of the High Court or Supreme Court is, I'll do my work without fear or favor. And this is a prime example of his son doing his constitutional duty, regardless of who, and overruling a judgment, regardless of whose judgment it was. And kudos and hats off to Justice Chandrachud.
Right, sir. Thanks very much for speaking to us here on NewsX.